Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa, also known as Fiber Nymph, and today is Wednesday, September 6th. It's been a minute, hasn't it? It's been almost a month. It will be a month tomorrow since I recorded last. I am sorry about that, but you know what? August was just completely a whirlwind. We'll get into that a little bit later. But welcome. Thank you so much for visiting with me today. If you are a new viewer, thank you for checking the podcast out. I hope you will enjoy what you see. And if you are a return viewer, as always, thank you for coming back. You are all most welcome here. And I have a lot to share with you, as you might guess, since it has been almost a month since I last talked to you. Let me cover the basics first here, though. There are show notes in the description box below the video here on YouTube. I link to the projects that I talk about. I link to my project pages both on Ravelry as well as on my own project blog website called My Favorite Day. So you have your choice of where you would like to see the project information. If one is not accessible to you, then the other is there. It's all the same info. So that is all there. And I try to, include links or notes about anything else noteworthy that I talked about. If you ever have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in either place and I will be happy to respond and help you out. We do have a Ravelry group that is quite chatty, so if you're interested in that and you can take part in that, I'd love to have you over there. I will say I am very, very behind on the Ravelry thread right now. I don't know if I'll ever catch up as far as being able to comment on everything, but I will get through everything and read everything that I missed in the month of busy, busy August. And I also have a membership option here on the channel, which is just $5 a month if you want to get some extra content every month. It's sometimes fiber related. Most often in the summertime, it's outdoorsy, nature, garden, hiking, kayaking, whatever related. I just posted a time lapse of hummingbirds at the feeder. That was kind of fun. So anyway, if you want that kind of content, check out the membership, the perks, and you can see that if you're interested. But anyway, I think that is everything I wanted to cover there. Let's get on with the podcast. As I said, August was just a whirlwind. I left off with you right after my grandson had been here for a week-long visit. We had gone camping, had a great time. I believe when I talked to you last, I was dealing with like a sneezy thing that I assumed was allergies. Lo and behold, it was not. It was COVID. Yes, COVID came to visit. And then right after that, I had about a week and Bill and I left to go visit my mom in Florida. So that was a motorcycle trip. We rode down in 2 days. We're there for 5 days, including over her 80th birthday, which was so much fun, and then 2 days back. And we got home on a Sunday. He went to work Monday, and then that Thursday was his very last day of work because he is now an official retired person. So yay, Bill. I'm so excited for him to be moving on to this next phase of life. And he actually wasted no time in doing so. He left on Sunday, 2 days later, for a solo motorcycle trip that he'll be gone almost 3 weeks. He's heading out west to visit his sister, and then he's going to be there for a while, and then he'll be riding home along US Route 50, which is a coast-to-coast road he's never done, and he was looking forward to that. So I think this is day 4 of his journey. He's been very, very hot. It's been quite hot there. It's been hot here too. I'm not sure where the fall weather is that I was hoping for when September came, but we don't have it yet. I apologize. I do have a fan running in here. I don't usually, because I don't usually need it at this time of day. It's like 9 in the morning. But it is so humid, and I would be melting before your eyes without the fan. So hopefully it's not too noisy. It's an old fan, though. It has a little bit of a rattle. I'll try to remove any errant noise in editing, but I can't make any promises, so please forgive me. My coffee mug, however, is ready for fall. Isn't it cute? Love it. So we're ready for spooky season. Okay, real quick before I get into the crafting, I did want to just mention a couple of things going on in the shop. I will do a full shop segment later on in the podcast, but I did want to bring a couple things to your attention. Number one, it is September, and September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. That is a mouthful, but it is important. And I have done a special colorway for that. This colorway is called Stay. And it is available as a self-striping. It is available as mini skein sets as well as a fiber braid or a fiber spinning set. And I will be donating $5 from the purchase of any of those items for the entire month of September. Donations will then be split in half. One half going to Canines for Warriors, which works with the veteran population. And the other half will be going to the Trevor Project, which works with LGBTQIA plus youth. And both of those populations are among the highest risk for suicide. So if you would like to purchase any of these items, you will be helping both of those organizations out. And I thank you in advance for that. Also happening in the shop later this week will be my exclusive colorway that I'm coming out with for the Pigskin Party, which is a make-along hosted by Jen of the Downseller Studio podcast. She hosts this every year over the NFL season, and I'm so happy to be back as a Pro Shop sponsor. I will have my exclusive colorway debuting on Friday. I will probably put it up as like a preview item in the shop on Thursday. I do not have it ready to, well, I do have it ready, but I'm not showing it here on the podcast today because I'm saving it for the event, which starts this weekend. I will have that colorway up for pre-orders as well. I don't know if I mentioned, this is also up as a pre-order, but I'm turning them around as they get ordered. So the Pigskin Party colorway will be available also, self-striping, mini skeins, and fiber options. This weekend is the kickoff weekend, and so that means there are a lot of activities and Zooms going on. I will put a link down below in the show notes so you can check all that out if you are interested in taking part. It's always such a wonderful event. Jen does a great job. I will be hosting a Zoom as part of that on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, so I hope you'll come and join me for that. I always have fun with those. Try to make it exciting and fun, and I usually have ways for you guys to win some free yarn. So anyway, you can check that out if you are interested. Have other things coming to the shop soon that I will talk about a little bit later in the actual shop segment of the podcast. So let us jump to the actual crafting, because I have quite a bit to share with you, as you might guess I would after not talking to you for a month. And I do have 2 pages of notes here that I'm going to be referring to so that I get it all right. Oh, and hummingbird. There's a hummingbird right outside my window. See, this is so hard to not get distracted when the hummingbird feeder is right there. We have had so many hummingbirds this year. It's been insane. All right. We're going to start with finished objects because I have a bunch of them. And the first one I have, let's see, I have to get it out of the pile here. The first one I have is my favorite scarf ever that I was working on with my Dragon Horde yarn set. The colorway is Good Luck Black Cat. It was a Halloween colorway she did several years back, and it came with a kind of gray mini skein. So this was my May, I believe. Yeah, my May personal stash yarn challenge project, which obviously I did not finish in May or June for that matter. But it's finished now. I think when you saw it last, I was working on the second half. But it's all done. I love this pattern. I've made it a couple of different times. This one I did wider, so it's that wide. I originally had thought that I was going to turn this into a cowl, but you know what? I just liked it too much. So it's just going to remain a scarf. And it's long and drapey. And it's probably not going to stay on me quite long right now because, again, warm, melting. But I'm very happy with it. The colors are a lot of fun. And I'm really glad to have it done at this point. Okay, now it's strangling me. It's worked from the outside ends up. You do one half, then you do the other half, and then you seam it in the center. So you can see that there. But yeah, it's really, I just had so much fun with it. I love this pattern because I love chevrons, and you know that. That's not news to you. So anyway, that is a finished project. I'm not going to go into great detail about a lot of these projects because you've seen them so many times that I don't want to be overly redundant, and I would like to try to keep this moving along since I have so much to talk about. But again, all of the details are on the project pages, so you can check them out. And if you have questions, just leave a comment and I'll be happy to answer. Okay, so the next finished object then, this was my August Personal Stash Yarn Challenge project, which I did actually finish in August. And it's dawning on me that I need to I think I still need to post the finished object picture in the A Stitch in Time group, because Carol, who runs the A Stitch in Time podcast group, and does the A Stitch in Time podcast, she is also running a year-long make-along called Another Year of Stash. And part of that is I always get the name of it wrong. I believe this year she's calling it the Yarn of the Month Club, like a personal Yarn of the Month Club where you set aside yarns and then pull one every month. Kind of like what I'm doing for my own personal stash yarn challenge. So this was my mine for August. And I just realized I did not weave in my ends. That's the only thing I have left to do. It is blocked. So this yarn is some hip strings yarn on their gifted DK weight base, and the colorway is Sinkhole, and I did tell you about the inspiration behind that colorway name last time, so I think I probably described it in my project pages as well. Anyway, this project, or this pattern, is the Ikigai Cowl by Brianne Elise Miller. And I wasn't sure how it was going to work out with the variegation, but I really like it. It really opened up. It's just a very simple eyelet kind of pattern. I know it's hard to see in the variegation, but I'm pretty happy with it. And it did end up, I cast this on with more stitches than the pattern had called for because I wanted to be able to double it. And that did work. Now here it is. This is how long it is if I don't double it. So it's down, I would say, right below my belly button. But it's definitely long enough to double. So, yeah. Could wear it like that. Could also wear it if it's turned correctly. Oh my gosh, sorry. You know, do one of these deals, kind of. Anyway. There are options. Ugh. I'm so warm. Anyway, so I'm super happy with this. It was a lot of fun to make, and got a skein of stash out of my skein of yarn out of my stash. Do I have this turned the right way? Yeah, I do. Okay. Gotta weave in those ends though. Wow. Having a banner hair day with all this stuff and the humidity. So alright, so those are the two most recent projects that you have seen knit-wise. Now, I have spinning projects that are also finished. You may recall, if you have been watching, that for Tour de Fleece, I had pulled out a whole bunch of yarn from my fiber stash, and it was all fiber that I had dyed over the years, but I just never spun. I kept it, but never spun it. So that was what I was working on. And the first project was this, which turned out to be 5 skeins of yarn, and this was 3 separate braids that I did as a combo spin. And the way I did that was I started with the first braid and I split it in half, and the first half I just spun 2 singles and plied it to itself. So that was the first one, pretty yellow, mostly yellow. And then I went with the second half of that first braid and the first half of the second braid, spun those 2 as singles and plied them, so we got that. Then the second half of the second braid and the first half of the third braid, I have these all numbered, so yeah, that ended up being that one. So that is the initial progression. And then finally I did the last half of the third braid and 2 singles and plied it to itself. So I had this small braid, and then the one bobbin ended up with a whole lot of extra singles on it, so I just wound it into a center pull ball and plied it on itself as well. So I've got over 1,200 yards here, and I didn't really figure out wraps per inch or anything, but I'm going to say it's probably a sport weight. That's what I'm guessing it'll probably knit up as. So that's a fair amount of yarn. I could conceivably probably get some sort of a garment out of that, like a top or something. So yay, I'm happy to have that done. So that was my main Tour de Fleece project. I had vague hopefulness that maybe I'd be able to do something else in July, but I didn't. Matter of fact, obviously I didn't even finish that in July, but it's done now. But the other thing that I had thought I might play with was a set of bats. That they were not ones that I had dyed. They were from a bat club that I had been in from Knit Spin Farm. Joanna, who does that club. And so you did see the one, because I pulled the one bat out and I took it with me on a little motorcycle weekend that Bill and I were on in July, and I took a drop spindle and worked on that. And as I told you when I brought it back, like, I knew I was never going to finish that on the drop spindle. I'm just not that avid of a drop spindler. But what I did end up doing was I did pull out my little electric eel wheel Nano 2, tiny little 3D printed e-wheel that I backed on a Kickstarter earlier this year. I did pull that out and I finally got it working. It needed some tweaking to get it to really function well. But I got it working and I was able to spin up those 3 bats, including the one that I had taken with me with, I think might have been this one. I just transferred it onto the bobbin and then finished it. So there was definitely a learning curve with that little wheel. Maybe someday I'll make a video about that little wheel and just give my thoughts on it, not really like an official review or anything, but it's okay for what it is. I would never recommend that as a starting point for somebody who wanted to first learn to spin, who does not know anything about spinning or doesn't know how a regular like treadled wheel works. I don't think it would be a good choice because, like I said, I had to fuss with it an awful lot to get it to actually work. But in the end, I was able to do it. And honestly, too, these bats were probably not the best fiber to try to spin on it because they had, you know, as a lot of bats do, like silk noil and sari silk and neps and things like that that make them a little more challenging to spin anyway. And they kind of wanted to get, that kind of stuff wanted to get caught on different parts of the spinner. So anyway, I got it to work. There are a couple that are quite tiny because I did basically cannibalize the fiber and some of it, but it's okay. I ended up with, between the 6 of these, I ended up with just under 200 yards. And it's probably, on average, I'd say a DK. I did not ply on the e-spinner. I cannot imagine trying to ply on the e-spinner. I did instead ply on my Ashford Traveler, and I did a chain ply, which I definitely can't imagine doing a chain ply on that e-wheel, just the way it was functioning. But, you know, anyway, so that's what I've got. And I'm happy to have those done. And that's more fiber out of my stash, so yay. Okay, so those are the official projects that I have been working on recently. But I have 2 other projects that were finished, like the knitting and crocheting of them were finished, but they hadn't been blocked and they hadn't been finished as far as ends woven in, but they are now. So I'm going to just show those to you as a little update. This cowl, this was called the, what is it? The Vanilla Bean, French Vanilla button cowl. This was a crochet project that I did earlier this year, I think in April. And this was actually yarn from my November last year personal stash yarn challenge that I hadn't gotten to do. It just needed blocked and it needed buttons. The pattern actually called just for 1 button. I put 4 on because I had these really cool square buttons that I thought were super pretty, and I thought they really looked good with this open, kind of squarish open lace pattern on here. I did not do this very well. I kept gaining stitches. I kept gaining them or losing them. I don't remember. Maybe I was losing stitches. It's not symmetrical, but it doesn't really matter. And the fact that it's got the buttons and these open holes that you can work with, you can just sort of button it however you want. and wherever you want, really, like that. So that's like on the second button up. You could do it looser. I don't know. I mean, if I buttoned all 4 of them while it was laying out flat, I could just put it on like a regular cowl. But there are options. But I think it's really pretty. I mean, it's just open. This was some Plymouth tweed, I believe. No, was this Plymouth tweed? I don't remember. We'll look at the project pages, won't we? But I'm glad to have that all finished, so I can wear that this year. Obviously, it's going to be a scarf and cowl kind of winter. It always is, though. I love cowls. Okay, so that is finished. And the other thing that is actually finished now is my handspun Highland slipover. Remember this? It's huge. It is big. I'm not going to be putting this on for you right now because I will literally just melt into a puddle. It's very heavy and very warm. But you might remember, this was the very first project I knit this year from my own Stop Shooting on Yourself Make-Along list, wish list. Because I thought, oh, slip along, super easy, no sleeves, I can whip this out, be done with it, and move on to the next garment. Well, it didn't quite go that way. You might remember I had issues. It has issues. And in the end, when I was done with it, I wasn't sure I was going to keep it. I was debating whether to keep it or frog it and use the yarn for something else. And viewers kind of had their own views on it. You all chimed in, and some of you thought I should hang on to it and give it a rest and come back to it and decide later. Some of you said just frog it if you don't like it, and both are valid options, but I did decide to just hang on, wait till closer to fall and see how I felt about it. And I'm glad I did, because I do actually like it now. Now I'm going to stand up and just hold it up. Like I said, I can't put this on right now. But as you can see, it is very roomy. It is quite boxy on me. It is very positive easy. Far more than I usually go for, but it's okay. So here it is, and it comes, like, I would say just to where like my shorts split for the legs. So it's quite long. Like, here's my waist, and here's the bottom of the sweater. Okay. The sleeves are quite low, like the armholes. And again, it is boxy. Someday you will see this actually in real pictures with it on my body, but it has to cool down about 20 degrees before I can do that. So anyway, I'm not sure how much that really illustrated. However, I can just tell you, I am happy with it. I did have it on the other day after I got it. I got all the ends woven in. I don't know, I had some crazy number of ends. I soaked it and blocked it out here on the deck. It was so hot the day I blocked it. I thought this is going to dry in no time, and it didn't. This tells you how dense this fabric is. It took hours, and I had to flip it over. Like, usually, like on the deck, you don't have to do that. It just cooks everything, but it took a while. So anyway, I'm really pleased to have made the decision to keep this. I'm glad I'll have it. It'll definitely be warm and cozy this winter. I can wear it with any number of things underneath it, and it'll be good. So yay, a finished garment. A finally finished garment, I guess, now that I think that's been languishing in limbo, in purgatory since April as well. Okay. So beyond those things, which are all finished, I do have one new project. That's all. Because really the only other thing I've been actively knitting on is colorway samples. I do knit all my own colorway samples, and I enjoy doing that because then that gives me a chance to work with the colorway, make sure it's going to work out the way I envision it. And so I have been doing that. Matter of fact, when I was in Florida, that was all I worked on, was 3 different colorway samples. I didn't spend a lot of time knitting in Florida. I usually do, but it was so hot down there as well. My go-to knitting time when I'm at my mom's is usually first thing in the morning. I get up because I'm up usually before her, and I go out and make coffee and take it out to the pool and knit poolside, but it was like 80 some degrees at 7 in the morning, and that's not really fun for knitting, and super humid. So yeah. Not a lot of knitting happened, but a lot of other fun things happened. So, okay, so the one project that I have that I am working on right now that is not something that you've seen before, because obviously I do have some other projects that are sort of languishing that I have not worked on, even though they did take the road trip to Florida, like my DRK Everyday Cowl. That went to Florida, didn't work on it. I took that yarn that was my July personal stash yarn challenge yarn, the 250-gram skeins of spin cycle dyed in the wool that I was going to do shorty socks with. Took it, never worked on it. Took other stuff, never worked on it. All I did, like I said, was colorway samples, which was fine. But when I got home, shortly after I got home, well, I don't know, last week. So I guess that's shortly after I got home. I got a package in the mail. And this is some new to me yarn. It is not new yarn specifically. And I'm going to share this because I don't think she'll mind. So Carol, I mentioned Carol from the A Stitch in Time podcast. If you watch her podcast, you might have seen her working on a project in the not so distant past, maybe in the last month and a half, where she had tried working with this yarn. Ooh, it's really, really bright on camera. It's not quite that bright in person, but it is bright. It's some Cascade 220 that she had in her stash for a really long time, and this is the only skein that's still originally in the skein with the label. The rest of it she has used and frogged and used and frogged and used and frogged because she was never able to find the right project for it. And after the last time, she's like, I don't know that I'm even going to use this. This isn't really my color, and maybe I'll just destash it. And so I basically got a hold of her. I'm like, hey, I would love to take that yarn off your hands because I love that orange, and you know I love my Cascade 220. And so we worked out a little trade, and I got her yarn that she couldn't do anything with, and I'm so thrilled to have. So I basically decided I am using this right now. It's not even going away in the stash. It's going to become something. And part of the inspiration for that is the fact that I recently bought a dress. It's black and it's sleeveless. It's actually very much like this top, except it doesn't have a collar or buttons. It's just sort of a sheath dress, you know, a shift maybe. I don't know what the proper term is, but it's calf length and has splits up the sides of the fronts. It's really cute and casual, but it's just plain black, which makes it a perfect canvas for color in like a shorter, not maybe super crop top, but like a shorter sweater to put over it. And like orange and black, what does that make you think of? I'm going for a Halloween thing here. So anyway, I started looking for patterns, and I came up with one that has been in my queue for a really long time, and it's called the Duchesne Top Tee. I don't have the picture of it printed out, but I will try to put one in here. And that's designed by Layla Raven. And I've had this in my queue for a long time. The original one, though, was knit out of Quince & Co. Kestrel, which is a linen. And I knew I probably didn't want to make it out of linen, or I just didn't have the right linen color on hand that I ever wanted to make it with. But I decided to give it a go with this yarn. Now, obviously, linen's going to have a way different drape than wool, but I think it'll be okay because I'm knitting this on larger needles than I would usually work with on Cascade 220. So this is what I have so far. This is 2 of the pattern repeats. And look at, it's just so pretty. I love that lace panel that's going to run down the center. Now, this sweater, the Duchesne, is supposed to be worked with 16 to 22 inches of positive ease. Like, that's probably the positive ease that I've got in that Highland slipover, and there's absolutely no way I want that much positive ease in this wool, this little top that I'm making. Again, if it was in linen, it would have so much more drape, and it probably would be okay to have more ease, but I didn't want that much ease. I want this to be much more close fitting. So I'm using US 8 needles, which is again larger than I would normally use with this yarn. I would usually use like 6 or 7 at the most for Cascade 220. But it's giving me a nice open fabric, so I think it will have adequate drape with it, on it. So isn't that pretty? I don't know. I'm trying to get it to open up. There. Anyway, yeah. So the pattern is written top down in pieces. So you do the front top down, and then you do the back piece, which is basically just stockinette top down, and then you seam them at the shoulders and seam them up the sides to create your armholes. I am modifying that a little bit. I'm going to knit the top down as far as what I want my armhole depth to be. Then I will do the back, same depth. Then I'm going to join them in the round, and I think that will be better for me. The other thing is I did cast on the very smallest size, because based on the gauge that I'm getting, which I am actually really close on gauge, knitting it with these needles, I think it'll work out to be, I mean, you can see it's a drop shoulder design anyway, but that's going to give me enough give, especially once it's blocked. It'll have positive ease, just not the excessive amount of positive ease that the pattern calls for. Did I do the actual math to figure out what it'll probably be? No, I did not, but I'm just going on the hope that it'll be fine. So anyway, I'm really excited about this. It's so far a really easy knit. The patterning, that it's like a 14 row repeat, but it's pretty memorizable once you get into it, for that little lace panel. So I'm hopeful that this is going to go pretty quick. My plan is to do, you know, that front piece, the back piece, join in the round, maybe knit an inch and then stop, and then do whatever I'm going to do for the armholes. I'm not putting sleeves on it. I just want it to be, you know, that drop shoulder and then like a little cuff. And once I get the sleeves done and finished, I will use whatever yarn is left to knit the rest of the body. And that will basically inform how long this is going to be. Like I said, it's a little, maybe I didn't say, it's a little less than 5 full skeins. So it's like just over 1,000 yards, I guess. But I think that'll be enough. I mean, I think that'll be fine for what I want to end up with. So anyway, thank you, Carol, again for sharing this yarn with me. I am so pleased to have it, and I'm really happy with how this project's turning out so far. Okay, so with one main active project going, you might be wondering, well, what else are you going to be doing? Well, I'm going to be working a lot between now and mid-November when I get the holiday countdown sets out. Have a lot of other stuff going on in there work-wise as well. But I do have some other projects that I would like to focus on. When I get to this point in the year and it's really, really busy, I've come to realize that it's best for me to like kind of focus in on specific projects rather than have a whole bunch of stuff that I'm trying to work on at once, because then I actually get things done, which I know kind of goes across the board. That's how things work. You work on them, they get done. I do still have my weaving project that I've been working on forever. Well, I haven't been working on it forever. That's the problem. It's been on my limb forever. I think that was back in March, maybe May. I would like to finish that. I got hung up on that because it's turning out not the way I had envisioned it, and I just need to move beyond that and get out of my head and finish it and let it be what it's going to be and not worry about it. So I do want to work on that. I don't have an active spinning project now that I've finished both that Tour de Fleece project and the little bats. But in my basket of fiber that I think I probably shared with you back in my Tour de Fleece prep time, I had, like I said, I had other fiber that I had dyed over the years, and so there's still 4 braids left from that. And one of them is this one, which is some mixed BFL in some deep blues and golds and greens. This was a colorway I did a long time ago called Ranger, and I really love this colorway, and I'm going to put this on the wheel next. It's just going to be a fractal spin, nothing fancy, but I'm looking forward to doing this. And then that leaves 3 other braids in that basket, which 2 of them were dyed as a set to go together. It was a club thing from many years ago. They do go together, and then the third one isn't part of that, but it coordinates well enough that I think I'm just going to do a little combo spin with those. They're all small braids. I think they're like 2 or 3 ounces each, so that will be good. So I will do another little combo spin and use those up, and that'll be so exciting because that was a lot of fiber out of my stash, and I'm very excited to have that all spun up this year. I'm putting that out there into the universe. Those are going to get done this year. So anyway, that is a spinning project coming up. Let's see. Other knitting and crochet things. Right now, I'm really envisioning a lot of sweaters that I can layer over dresses. I just talked about this orange one that I'm making, the Duchesne, that I specifically have in mind to go over that black sheath dress thing. Again, I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know. But I've actually purchased a few other dresses recently, which is so weird because I don't usually wear dresses. I don't often feel comfortable in them the way they fit my body. And so it's weird that suddenly the universe has put all these dresses into stores that I'm seeing, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute. Oh, it probably won't look good on me. Then I try it on, and it's like, oh, that doesn't look bad at all. So I just took advantage of some Labor Day sales and clearance, summer clearance, and got a few other dresses that all are, they're summer, so they're sleeveless or like spaghetti strap, but they would look so cute like in the shoulder season, you know, of fall with little sweaters over them. So we'll see how many little sweaters I can get knit up. And part of that, or crocheted up. That's segging into what I'm going to talk about next. Speaking of my personal stash yarn challenge, which I've been doing this year again, not always getting it done in the month, but that's okay. I did pull my bag for September. So this has my September yarn in it. And I pulled this one purposely because there's only, September, October, November, December, 4 left. There's actually a 5th one in there, but I think it's one of the ones from earlier this year that I didn't use, and I swapped out for the yarn that I'm using on that weaving project. I think that one's in there. Anyway, so I had 4 left, but I knew one of them had specific yarn in it, because I don't remember what a lot of them have in it, but I knew one of them had a set of yarn in it that I had gotten when Bill and I were in Maine a couple years ago, and so I was squishing, I was cheating, and I was squishing my bags, and it's like, this is it, this is the one, because I wanted this one for a project, for a sweater. So here it is. I did actually open it to look at it because I couldn't remember specifically what the colors were. So I have 5 skeins of Swan's Island yarn in this bag that I picked up at a yarn shop in Maine. I don't remember the name of the shop. It was like the very first shop on the trip that we did go to though. And I had to have the yarn shipped back because it's way too early in a motorcycle trip to have that much yarn on me. But these are the 5 colors that I got. And I'm sure whenever I bought it, I probably was envisioning like a shawl or something, because that's usually what I envision when I buy multiple skeins like this. But that's not what this is going to be. This is going to be a crocheted cardigan. I know you might be thinking, Lisa, you did not have much luck with that granny stripes cardigan that you tried to do. You're right, I didn't, but I'm going to try again. And this time it's not going to be a granny stripes cardigan. It's going to be a granny square cardigan. It's called the Ariana cardigan. I saw this on a podcast called It Is a Sarah. Sarah is from the Netherlands. And she is delightful. She also is a very prolific, not only a prolific maker, but she is a prolific recorder, podcast recorder, because she does double episodes, one in English and one in Dutch, and she does them twice a week. She does one on one set of them on Monday and one set of them on Friday. When I first started watching her and she said that she does them twice a week, I thought, oh, well, she must do like the Dutch one day and the English one another day. No. She does both of them, Dutch and English on Monday and then Dutch and English on Friday. So she comes out with 2 episodes a week. It's insane. But I love watching her. She's just delightful. I will link her podcast below in case you haven't seen it. But anyway, she recently made one of these. And I can't remember if she used scrap yarn for hers or not. But what she did, like the main color on this, as you can see, is like that light gray kind of color. Hers was a darker color, like I want to say it was like a darkish brownish black, and it was so striking with that darker color, because if you go to the project pages for this pattern, most of them you see with a light colored main colored, like for joining and the button bands. That's what I mean by the main color. And so I really liked the darker color that Sarah had used. I obviously don't have a darker color in these 5 skeins, but you also might be thinking, Lisa, I don't think you're going to get a whole cardigan out of those 5 little skeins. Because you're correct, these are small. They are 40-gram skeins, and it's a sport weight. This pattern is written for worsted weight, by the way. It's a sport weight, 185 yards per 40 grams. Okay, so you're right. Not enough yarn here for this. And even though this is my personal stash yarn challenge, and the whole point is to use up stash yarn, I am acquiring more so that I can make this specific pattern, because this is really what I want to make with this. So I got on the Swans Island website yesterday, since I couldn't remember the name of the shop I got it from, and it's been over 2 years. Well, it's been about 2 years since we've been there. So I was thinking they probably may not have any more anyway. But lo and behold, the Swans Island website does have this yarn, and it seems like something they carry continuously. It almost looks like this might be their main yarn line. Main, M-A-I-N, not main, M-A-I-N-E. Their main yarn line. This is a Rambouillet yarn, by the way. It seems, I want to say it's at least semi-woolen spun. I don't know. But it is, here I'm going to read this to you. This 2-ply, oh, it is woolen spun, duh. It's right on the label. This 2-ply woolen spun yarn embodies rustic sophistication. Ooh. The fine quality Rambouillet wool comes from all American farms located in the central part of the USA. It is first sourced, then scoured, then carded and spun at one of the oldest woolen mills in New England. Hand dyed in Maine at our Northport studio. This yarn is truly an all-American product. So cool, right? So I bought one more of each of these colors, and then I bought 4 skeins of like a medium gray. It's not like a dark charcoal, but it's definitely darker than that light gray that's there. So the colors I've got here are poppy, ochre, plum, azure, and what's this called? Cloud. So I'm going to make, again, this pattern's written for worsted weight. Obviously I need to go down a hook size or 2 to do it with the sport weight. So I'm going to do a test square, find the gauge that I like best, and then see how this compares with the size, because they're saying the gauge, your granny square, the 5-round granny square should measure 5.5 inches on the diagonal. Mine will be smaller. And that is fine, because the other thing about this pattern is it comes in 2 sizes. It comes in small, medium, and large, which is one size, and then extra large, 2X, and 3X is the second size, which that's a 40-inch as the small one and a 65-inch bust as the large one. That's 25 inches in there. And again, I don't want this to be super big and oversized. I would like it to be more closely fitted. So I'm going to be playing around to get the fit right, but I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be so much fun. I don't know if I'm going to do all of the squares with the same colors in the same order. That's something else I'm going to play around with, but I'm really looking forward to making this. I have the yarn ordered. I can obviously get started playing with my squares, but that's going to be a project that will be coming up here soon. Okay, so that is everything going on crafty-wise. We are going to now jump into the Stop Shooting on Yourself Make-Along, because I have the prizes to announce for August. There will be 3 prize winners, as always, and Remember last time I promised you it would not be mini skeins again this month, and it's not. However, I do not have the yarn here to show you what your prize choices are because it's stuff that I dyed specifically to have for prizes for you, and it was not dry enough for me to reskein in time to show you. So here's what it is. They are serendipitous stripes. Okay, so those are the ones where they're non-repeatable colorways. I just have fun in the dye studio dyeing them up. I did 3 different sets. One set is on Bounce, one set is on Mountain Tweed BFL, and those are both fingering weight, and then the other one is Mountain Tweed Merino DK, which is a DK weight. So 3 sets, that means there's 2 of each of those. Color-wise, I would say they all are autumnal. Okay, they lean autumnal in nature. Not Halloween, none of them are Halloween-y, but they lean more towards autumnal shades. So, and all 3 sets are different. So anyway, if you are one of the winners, please email me, let me know you won. So Lisa@fibernymphdyworks.com, let me know you won. Send me your mailing information, and then instead of telling me which colorway you want, tell me which base you would like for your prize. Would you like a skein of the Bounce, a skein of the Mountain Tweed BFL, or a skein of the Mountain Tweed Merino DK? And that will be your prize. First come, first serve, obviously. Tell me your top 3 choices, just in case whatever you want is gone. I'll have something to fall back on. Okay. So here we go. 3 prize winners. The chatter thread in the Ravelry group. There was posts 3172 through 3791. Random number generator chose post 3714, which just happened to be Knits and Pearls, who is Carol, who I was just talking about, sent me this lovely orange yarn. And I promise it was totally random number generator who chose Carol. But anyway, Carol, congratulations. Thank you so much for taking part, and please let me know your prize choices. The finished object thread posts number 337 through 374 were from August, and random number generator chose post 374, which was actually the very last August post, and that is Elizabeth Beads, who is Elizabeth, and her finished object was the lemon spritz top, and it was very pretty and looked so comfy. So congratulations, Elizabeth. And then lastly, we have an Instagram winner, which again was done by just my random scrolling on the posts in the hashtag, which is hashtag 90K SSOY MAL. I wish there was a better way to do Instagram, but as we've talked about, there is not. So random scrolling and putting my finger on things until I found an August post that landed on Mystery Sewer, who posted on 8/25, so the 25th of August. I don't know why I'm saying the numbers. And she had a lovely pair of finished socks. So Mystery Sewer, I want to say your name is Sandy. I know I should know this. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But congratulations. So congratulations to all 3 of you again. Please let me know what your top 3 yarn-based choices are for your serendipitous skein prize, and I will get that out to you as soon as possible. The make-along is still continuing for the rest of the year. It's never too late to join in. You can see all of the guidelines and information about it both in the Ravelry thread or on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works blog. There is a post pinned at the top, so you can check those out. Lastly, we're going to just do some more shop talk about what's in there. Again, the Stay colorway will be in there all through the month of September. Pre-orders, and $5 from each item is being donated to the 2 suicide prevention organizations that I mentioned already, Canines for Warriors and the Trevor Project. So that is in there. My Down Cellar Studio Pigskin Party colorway will be available for pre-orders starting on Friday, so you can check out that. I'll have it posted on social media as well, so you can be looking for that. But that's coming up. And then the other thing that's coming up is, as you may remember, my holiday countdown sets this year are called A Middle-earth Winter. And in conjunction with that, I'm launching a new colorway line this fall called Middle Earth Imagined. I have been planning this colorway series for so long, and I'm so excited to finally have it out. Now, the way I'm doing this is I'm giving early access pre-orders to the people who did order the Middle Earth Winter collections. So the first round of those happened in August. So those August colorways are going to be going into the shop this month for you guys to pre-order. And these are the first two colorways from the Middle Earth Imagined collection. This one is In a Hole in the Ground, which is my Hobbit Hole colorway. And then this one is Under the Party Tree, which is my imagined view of what the party tree in the Shire would have looked like during Bilbo's birthday party in the evening, with all of the brightly colored lanterns lighting up the tree in different shades. So those are the two colorways that will be coming to the shop. I'm going to say probably in a week or two, because I need to get that Down Cellar Studio color launched first, and I don't like to overwhelm people with a lot of new colorways all at one time. But this will be coming in the next week or two. And again, these will be available as a pre-order, self-striping, mini skein sets, or fiber options. So that will all be in the shop listings. What else is coming up? I am working on the September club shipment for the Lepidoptera Yarn and Fiber Club. That'll be going out by the end of the month. I have a show at the end of October that I'm also working on. I'm obviously working on getting colorways and yarns and everything dyed up for the Middle Earth Winter Holiday Countdown sets that go out in early November. I will have some other things in the shop this fall. My shawl pattern is coming out this month. I can tell you that it is officially being named the Reciprocal Shawl. I'm finishing up some yarn that I want to have in the shop at the same time when that goes live. That has been something I had to get out of my head about also, which, you know, yeah, I won't go into that. Just like you have a thought and you think this is how this has to be, and then you're like, no, it doesn't actually have to be that way, Lisa. You can just do it a different way. It's fine. So anyway, I will have more to say about that when that does actually launch, which will be in the next couple of weeks. And I do have some Halloween colorways coming out. I'm not doing like a lot of specific fall and Halloween colorways this year because I've got so many other new things coming out, and honestly, Lord of the Rings inspired Tolkien-y things always feel very fallish to me. I don't know if it's because like the beginning of the Lord of the Rings, like the Fellowship of the Rings, you know, Bilbo's birthday, like that's in the fall, that's in September. So I don't know if that's why that always feels fallish to me or what, but like these are my fall colorways right now as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll have other fall colorways. We'll see what I put in the shop. But I do have some Halloween things coming. I have a new Halloween colorway that will be coming out hopefully towards the end of September. And then also a special thing that I'm going to do for Halloween. It's going to be just in the shop. It won't be a pre-order, and there's a very limited number of them going in. But I'll tell you more about that as it gets closer. So I do have things in the works. I know this has been a really weird year for me in the shop in some ways because ordinarily I used to do shop updates. Stuff was just in there, ready for you to buy. And I've gotten away from that. I've gone much more towards doing stuff as pre-orders, especially my new colorways. And honestly, that's probably the way it's going to stay, at least for the foreseeable future. It works out much better because instead of me saying, okay, here's a new colorway and I'm going to dye it on this, this, and this, and hopefully people are going to want to buy it on those bases. And sometimes they do, like Bounce. Obviously, I know people are going to want to buy things on Bounce. That is my best-selling yarn base. But then I like to provide lots of options. And some of the other options, sometimes they sell, sometimes they don't. And then I end up with inventory just sitting in the shop. And it doesn't do me any good sitting in the shop. And I want it to get out to you guys. So by doing it as pre-orders and saying, here are your options, I'll be happy to dye any of these for you. You get to choose, and then you know you're getting what you want as opposed to just getting what's left over. So I feel like the pre-order way to go for new colorways works best. And I'm going to stick with that for a while, and I hope you're okay with that too. That being said, if there is ever a colorway that you somehow missed in the shop or weren't able to get when it was there, and you would like it dyed up as a special order, please email me. I'm almost always able to do that. As long as it wasn't like some exclusive colorway for a specific thing or something, I'm happy to do custom orders for you guys. So just keep that in mind. Okay, I think that is everything. Obviously, there's no shortage of work for me right now, and I absolutely love this time of year because I'm so busy. It's like, you know, I go back and forth between, pulling my hair out because I'm so busy, but also like, yes, I love this. I love really having things to do constantly and, you know, constantly being on the go with my work. So it's going to be one of those kind of periods now through November, but it's okay. I'm looking forward to it. And the fact that Bill is going to be away for almost 3 weeks, I always have this vision of, yes, I can get so much done because I don't know why, because I have the same number of hours in a day when he's here versus when he's not here. But for some reason, my brain seems to think I'm suddenly going to be able to get all kinds of extra things done. Like, I'm going to clean and organize the attic. Like, no, I'm not. Like, who am I kidding? I'm not going to get that entire task done. But, you know, my brain thinks I will, so we'll just let it have its fun, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I say this at the end of every podcast. I love you guys. You make what I do, both on the podcast and in my shop, you make it so worthwhile. I love hearing from you. I am so honored and so humbled by some of the emails I get from you where you share your own stories of things that relate to colorways I've done. Like whenever I launched the Stay colorway, like I got some absolutely touching messages, and please don't think I just read them and forget them, because I don't. They mean a lot to me whenever you are willing to share things like that with me. That is a gift, and I do not take it lightly. But even if you're not sharing something like, you know, like that, like I love hearing from you guys. It makes me happy because I am a very solitary person in my work. I'm a one-person show for the most part, and I'm at home a lot in my studio, and so whenever I get connections the way I do with you guys on here and in comments and emails and everything, that is very meaningful. Don't ever think that I probably don't even care, because that's not true. I really do. So anyway, with that said, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for watching and hearing and looking at all my stuff and listening to me babble, and for putting up with my sound of my rattly fan so that I didn't melt in front of your eyes. Anyway, have a good rest of your week. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will talk to you again soon. I promise it's not going to be a whole month after this last hiatus that I had to go on. So anyway, take care. Talk to you soon. Love you guys. Bye.